Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will discuss how pragmatics is different from discourse. In other words, what is the difference between discourse and pragmatics? Let's begin our today's lecture. Pragmatics versus discourse. In order to understand the difference between pragmatics and discourse, it depends upon that how you define discourse. It is sometimes said that discourse is the level above grammar in the sense that grammar tells us what counts as grammatical sentences. When we are doing grammatical analysis of a sentence, so we focus whether the sentence is grammatically correct or not, or whether the structure follows grammatical rules or not. So grammar, in the sense that grammar tells us what counts as grammatical sentences. So we focus here whether the sentences are grammatically correct or not. And discourse tells us how to string sentences together into larger stitches of speech or writing. So this is the difference between discourse and grammar, right? So when we are doing grammatical analysis, we are focusing whether sentences are grammatically correct or incorrect. And when we are doing discourse analysis, we are focusing whether sentences are well knitted or not, right? So here you can see that sentences together into larger stitches of speech or writing, that how one sentence is connected with another one. So then that is discourse. So here we are defining discourse that is above grammar, right? Now, when linguists use the word discourse in this way, they tend to define discourse analysis as the analysis of language beyond the sentence level, right? So when a linguist use discourse in this way, so they mean that discourse analysis is the process that is beyond the sentence level, right? Now, in turn, they call the study of language in use how people interpret spoken and written language in actual situation of use, that is called pragmatic. So what is pragmatic? Then pragmatic, they define that how people interpret spoken and written language in actual situation. So that is language in use, how language is used in a particular situation, or how people use language in actual situation, then that would be pragmatic analysis. So we can summarize that discourse analysis when we say that discourse is above the grammar or is a level above the grammar. So we focus that how stitches of language are used in a text, right? Or how one sentence is connected with another one. So you are doing discourse analysis, or how you view stitches of language, right, in a larger unit. And pragmatic analysis would be that the use of language in actual situation, right? Then that would be pragmatic analysis. Here we will discuss the difference between pragmatics and discourse. Pragmatics provides us with the means of relating stitches of language to the physical, social, and psychological world in which they take place. So pragmatics relate stitches of language to the physical, social, and psychological world because language takes place in the physical, social, and psychological world. It does not take place in a vacuum. On the other hand, discourse indeed might be defined as the totality of all these elements interacting. So discourse is taken as a whole, while pragmatics is a part, or pragmatics is a chunk of a discourse. Discourse is a whole, and pragmatic is a part of discourse, right? Now, we continue here. Pragmatics tend only to examine how meaning develops at a given time. It provides us something like a snapshot of meaning. Again, you can see that it is a part. So pragmatics is a part of discourse analysis, right? It's like a snapshot, right? So discourse is more like a moving film revealing itself in time, sometime over a long period of time. Again, you can see that discourse is an umbrella term. It's like an umbrella. While pragmatics include in discourse, it is one of the part of this umbrella, right? So here you can see that pragmatics, it provides us something like a snapshot of meaning in a specific event, in a specific context, in a specific social situation, in a specific psychological situation. While then discourse is more like a moving film. And then each part is connected, or each part is formed like a stitch of language, right? And then it forms like a discourse. So discourse then is a whole, and pragmatic is a part of discourse, right? Here you can see pragmatic analysis and discourse analysis. It's time, the world, and social physical world in which language takes place is a language itself, and then thought, knowledge, and reasoning, right? So this is then pragmatic analysis. And when we take these all elements, right, time, the world, language, thought as a whole, then we are doing discourse analysis. Now, rank structure. One way of representing the relationship of parts to whole, right? So pragmatic then is part, right? And then we represent this part to a whole. So what is whole? Whole is discourse, and part is pragmatic. As a rank structure in which each rank is made of one or more of the rank below. This type of analysis is used in linguistics to describe the grammar of sentence. The rank of grammar are: we have sentence, we have clause, we have phrase, and we have a word. So this is the example of rank structure. We will further elaborate this on next slide. You can see here this is a sentence, right? And a sentence may have one clause, or a sentence may have two clauses. And then a clause may have one phrase, or a clause may have two phrases. And a phrase may have one word, or a phrase may have two words. Again, you can see clause. A clause may have two phrases, right? And a phrase may have one word, and a phrase may have one word. And here you can see that again a phrase and a phrase may have one word, and one word. So we can then summarize that a sentence may have one clause, or it may have two clauses. And a clause may have one phrase or two phrases. And you can see a clause may have three phrases here. Two phrases here and one phrase here, right? And we can resemble this structure to discourse. So then discourse would be taken as a whole in place of a sentence, and then it will have several parts, which would be considered like pragmatics. This is known as tree diagram, though it looks more like a root than branches, as each element may consist of one or more of the element of the line below. It is possible for a sentence to consist of a single clause, which consists of a single phrase, which consists of a single word. For example, we have go. It's a sentence. And this sentence consists of a single clause. And this clause consists of a single phrase. And this phrase consists of a single word. You can see here, right? Example is go. Now, the idea of rank structure and its representation in tree diagram can be borrowed from grammar and applied to discourse. So we can apply this to discourse. We can place here discourse, and there would be several elements of discourse, which would be considered as pragmatics then. If we regard 3-volume series or book as a complete discourse, for example, we can render a structure as this. Consider this is a discourse, And we have a book which consists of a 3 volume. Volume 1st, volume 2, and volume 3rd, right? So you can see here that a volume may have then several parts. So a volume may have several parts. And in each part then we have chapters. And in each chapter we have paragraphs, right? So you can see that these are different elements, okay? When we combine, so it forms a discourse, right? So here we can have a book which consists of 3 volumes, 2 volumes, 4 volumes, 5 volumes. And then in each volume, we may have parts, part 1, part 2, part 3. And in each part, we have chapter. And each chapter consists of paragraph then, right? So discourse then is taken as a whole, while pragmatics is only one part or one chunk of a discourse analysis, right? So thank you so much. It was all about what is the difference between pragmatics and discourse. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. Thank you so much.